And that actually makes me think of a funny joke I heard. It's like,
Perfect.
You know the best way to get $1 million for a case? Or the easiest way to get $1 million for a case? Mess up a $3 million case. So that's sort of what Patrick's saying, really,
right.
what he just said. It's like, there's attorneys who can take it. They'll get some money, and they know they're getting some money. But are they getting maximum case value? That's really the question.
Hey, we are back with episode number 103. What's going on, Sarasota? As always, my name is Brad Hannon.
Trey Martell.
Felipe Colon.
And we've got some really cool people on. You've heard of them for sure. We've got Chase Hale. No, I'm just kidding. We've got Patrick Hale and Patrick Hale.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on over there?
What the hell's going on?
We got Patrick and Patrick. So who's Pat and who's Patrick?
He's Pat, I'm Patrick.
All right.
And so, well, really in the office, I go by Hale and he goes by Patrick because his
Okay.
last name's Iyampillai. So it's just easier to call me Hale.
Okay, Hale, and we got Patrick.
Patrick.
There we go.
Yeah.
So everyone that's watching this, right? All 5 people have for sure heard of Hale Law. Why is that? It's not just the marketing interns, right? We got to take some credit. Like, where does this? I'm jumping right into what makes Hale Law, and that is your marketing is phenomenal. You're everywhere all the time. Tampa, Sarasota, billboards. Where like has this been from the start? What's the science behind it?
Yeah, so it got off, always sort of joked. The origins of who first used Go to Hale in my family is heavily debated. But I was the only one who tried to monetize it, obviously, right? So I was thinking about going with Go to Hale. I tried it out a few times, no real huge marketing push. But then I ended up bringing on my partner, and we were trying, he was talking, he wanted to do more marketing. I was down. And so then we were trying to come up with a slogan. We were considering, a lot of different people told us it was a bad idea, but we ended up going with Go to Hale after doing a focus group, and people thought it was great as Hale.
I think it's a killer slogan.
It's great as Hale.
You know what I mean? It's loud, it's memorable. I like both of those things. What were some of the other options you had?
Someone thought
Go
of
to heaven.
someone thought of the Patricks,
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think we already got one of those in town, right? They sell some good burgers, but I don't think you think the
Well,
Patricks.
the Patricks,
are
I think
law
Irish, you don't want like the Leprechaun law firm.
Leprechaun Law.
That wouldn't be the branding that would get you that, that attitude that you need to have to be successful in your field, right? Tenacious, aggressive. I don't know.
So the slogan's great. So once you decided on the slogan, what are some of the first marketing steps you took?
So I created all of our social media accounts. We didn't really have those. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that. And then just kind of developed like what is Go to Hale going to look like. We had to figure out, okay, who are we telling to go to Hale?
Not the client, hopefully, right?
The insurance companies.
That is the first thing is the client, go to Hale. But then we made it clear with tell the insurance companies you're going to Hale, also copyright, registered, trademarked.
There you go.
And then, once we did that, we just kind of like thought about, well, how does everyone else market? So, we thought of, all right, radio, TV, whatever. We didn't have a lot of money to spend, so we just kind of crept up, but eventually we just decided to throw money everywhere.
And that's where I was going to next, because you could have the greatest marketing campaign, you could have the greatest slogan, you could have the greatest logo ever, but if you can't pay to get it out there, it's very difficult. So obviously there's been some things along the way that have helped you generate enough revenue to put it on a billboard, put it on a T-shirt, even put it at every trade show type thing I've been to, you guys are at. So let's back up for a minute after you guys kind of nailed the marketing, or was it you nailed the marketing after you've already been doing business and you're doing it successfully based on just word of mouth or whatever else? Like how did the inception of Hale Law start?
Yeah, so sort of 2 questions there, but how did it start? A boy in a dream. I don't know. So, I started off. I was a prosecutor, so putting people in jail. Doing that, and then when I left, I knew I didn't want to work for the state my whole life. I didn't want to work for the government. So I started Hale Law. I was taking some nonviolent criminal offenses. Just simple stuff, and that would pay cash up front, while also taking personal injury cases. Early on I was calling a lot of people, calling this guy, Patrick, asking questions about personal injury while doing my homework. Started settling some cases, started word of mouth, started getting some more, and that's when I brought him on as my partner. Figured I don't really like doing criminal defense at all.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good doing it. I felt a lot better when I was a prosecutor. It's just financially it didn't work out with the family and everything. So ended up bringing him on, and it was just off to the races.
Yeah.
So do you guys split different types of law? Is that what I'm hearing? Do you do criminal defense now, or
No. So when I came on board, I was like, hey, man, we got to just do one thing, dig our toes in the sand here, heels in the sand, whatever the expression is.
dig your heels in?
Dig your heels
there
in.
you go. Sure.
And just do that. So, and that was all I ever did out of law school. And I was happy to, help out Pat at first. And then when he wanted to bring me on, I said, hell yeah, and let's do this thing.
Wow.
And that
You
was
guys
all
really
we
got it
ever
down.
did. Got it down.
Yeah,
It's in the
really got
DNA.
it down.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to ask my wife how many times I say it.
I like how you broke down, though, some things that other lawyers, I think, would not be as comfortable talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you just fell from the sky, some genius lawyer who's already doing personal defense, criminal defense work and personal injury work, right? You had to figure out a way to fund the marketing.
Exactly.
And that's why you stuck with what you knew. You knew criminal from your prosecution days.
Yeah.
Right?
And I knew how to do it really well.
It's cash pay up front, which
All
a
cash.
lot of people probably don't know, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to what you guys do is a longer sales cycle, right?
Oh, absolutely.
These personal injury cases take a while to settle. Talk to us about how that affects the business model.
Yeah, so at first it was a lot harder. Like when I first wanted to start Hale Law, I sold my house, took all that money, started advertising, buying some, DUI leads, stuff like that. Then also just doing some Google. I got a Google guy. Back in the day, Google was a lot easier. And not really doing too much, maybe just a couple posts, maybe like 3 or 4 before this guy came on board. But now, once you have a caseload build up, and we're settling cases for good money, our average fee is going up. So the money's there now. It's not like, even though we have to wait to get paid, it doesn't really matter. We have,
can float.
You know it's
we have
coming.
plenty-
Who cares?
We know it's coming. We have plenty of it. We don't have any loans or anything like that. So it's just flowing. Now we're a snowball going down a mountain. Not that I've ever seen that happen living in Florida, but that's what's happening. I've seen it on a cartoon somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
He's
Right,
being
I love
humble, though. He didn't take a penny the first year Hale Law was open. And when I came on board, we both took very nominal, salaries and just kept investing in the business. And,
Yeah.
that's what we've done every single year. And, it's worked out, just investing in
I love how you guys, like I was saying, don't want to hammer it too much, but the fact that you're comfortable talking about that, a lot of these folks, they don't.
Appreciate
You know what I mean?
it.
But every business starts that way, even lawyers, doctors, there's the sacrifice.
There is. And I have to shout out to my wife as well. Like she was a nurse. Luckily we didn't have a lot of money before, so
You're good with it.
my paralegals make more than I did when I was a prosecutor with, I don't even want to say how much student loans at the time.
Yeah.
So paralegals are making more. So my wife, she's working as a nurse. We were used to not having money, so sort of just got along, went with it, and luckily the beach was free. So I went to the beach a lot. That's what I did, so did that, and now things are better than ever.
When did Hale Law start?
April 2018.
Okay,
So pretty new overall. We just had our 7th birthday.
I was gonna say lucky number 7.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
When did you
Never
bring?
thought
When
of
did you
that.
bring Patrick? When did Patrick Squared happen?
2019. Pretty early on.
So a year later.
Yeah, really early on.
And then when did the bell curve start to happen? Because I feel like there had to have been some sort of lift.
When did the
Along the
pipeline
way.
reach critical mass?
I got a
I
better
think-
angle. When's the first time you
He's
heard of
gonna say
Hale
a better
Law?
question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
When's the first time I heard
Yeah,
Hale Law?
I remember mine.
Let's
Oh
hear it.
wow! You remember your first?
Yeah,
first
well,
time?
I remember it was at the event we do every year. What's it called? The
Hometown
Hometown Fest.
Yeah.
You guys are the name sponsors. So
2 years ago though.
Yeah.
Not this past year.
Yeah, 2 years ago. So that's the first time I remember seeing it. And then once you see it once, it's omnipresence, right? So then I've noticed your billboard. Oh, they got billboards. Oh, I'm comparing them to billboards because I'm thinking about getting a billboard. And I love how clear cut your messages, right? It's not just scattered and a bunch of bullet points everywhere. It's go to Hale, and then whatever that specific billboard
Basically,
had.
what he's saying is a lot like I'm on a roof. You
Yeah.
know? Like it's just. It's like,
I was telling him I love
it's
his
almost
shirt when
that
I walked
level
in
of
there.
genius.
or it better be strong.
He's giving you a lot of credit. He's saying like your marketing is like almost where mine is, which is pretty incredible. Like I wear the same outfit
That's big
every
praise.
day.
Yeah.
I'm on a roof. Hell yeah.
No, but do you guys remember it all when you first recognized their name?
Yeah, I remember probably 2 years ago, there's an event in Tampa that was right next to Florida Aquarium. And that person probably hired you because I left Florida Aquarium, was at this event. It was like, I don't remember what it was, but you had a big booth, big tent. It was, it was like Tampa Bay Bucks kind of theme. You guys were giving out some cool stuff. My kids didn't have sunglasses. It was bright, hot. They got some sunglasses. I remember that. I think I heard of you before that, but that was when I was like, man, I'm seeing these guys everywhere. And then we saw you at Hometown Fest. We connected. And honestly, you can have all the great marketing in the world, but after 7 years, if you're not doing a decent job, the marketing is not going to sustain you. So would like to back up into your actual, skill set, which is settling these personal injury claims. What would you say sets you guys apart in that space? Because there's a lot of competition in that space, right? So what sets you guys apart? What's been the connection or the glue between your great marketing and, getting those cases settled?
I would say it's the people, right? Like some lawyers, they got a chip on their shoulder. They're not willing to, call the client every week or, even every month. And that makes all the difference in cases. It makes all the difference in having that client feel so good about you that even well after their case is over with, they're referring clients your way and they're talking about you all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done that from the start. We continue to do it even with as big as we've become. We're still calling the clients all the time and, taking as much time as they need to, talk about themselves, their injuries, and, what they're going through. That helps us be able to argue to insurance or argue to a jury.
For sure.
Like, this is what they're going through. You're really going to treat them like this? Really not going to pay them, 6 figures, 7 figures? You need to. You need to.
Yeah. What is the size you guys are at now compared to, let's say, 2019?
So 2019, there was 4 of us.
Yeah, 2 paralegals and Patrick and I
And
shared an office. So the funny thing is,
Yeah.
we didn't have any space because I signed a 2-year lease. I didn't realize we were going to grow so fast. And so Patrick and I shared an office smaller than either one of ours personal office now. And he sat on one corner of the room and I sat on the other. And I heard all his calls. He heard all mine. And it was a fun time, a very loud office. And we were just packed in like sardines. So, but now we're a little bit bigger. 6 attorneys, 34 people total, including paralegals, admin
Whole
type
marketing
people.
team.
Yeah, marketing team sitting over here in your studios.
They're doing great.
Do you guys have HR? Do you hire your own people, or you have someone that does that for you?
we do outsource some HR, but we do have an office manager, skilled, trained, all that jazz. And, I would say before the end of the year, we're going to be over 40 people.
I love it. I love it. So we got some notes about Uber and Lyft being kind of one of the, I guess, niche markets. Probably not so niche anymore, but tell me about that because I can imagine there's probably some opportunity there, or I guess you may not want to speak to it being an opportunity, but there may be some issues there that you guys are handling. So what is that about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nationwide issue. So first, I think Uber, Lyft, we're making the waves in terms of
And
politics.
we won't name them directly. We won't say who, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ride sharing.
They have their
yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They spent over $200 million campaigning in California alone, for instance, to prevent their drivers from being employees, so they wouldn't have to pay benefits, they wouldn't have to treat them right. That was their start. But right now, as we sit here, Uber spent hundreds of millions of dollars last year. Lyft also spent a ton of money campaigning to reduce how much insurance they have to provide drivers in accidents, how much to the injured party, how much to their own drivers. And they're also working on reforming the law. So if you are injured and you want to go get money, well, there's now limits to how much you can get, or there's, ways they can prevent you from getting anything if you were even 1% at fault. And they're doing this all across the country, several states. I know.
Yeah, I know they were passing something in Nevada. I think it might have got overturned in the courts, but they're trying to. They were there. They paid 7 figures. They're trying to do it here now, and here in Florida, where attorneys are capped at 20%. So they're capping attorneys' fees, even though cases against the government capped at 25%. Cases in litigation against anyone else 40%. But for them, they wanted to be capped at 20%. So what they're trying to do is make it where, because litigating against them is not exactly cheap. It's not like they just roll over. They fight hard, and that's fine. We fight like Hale too. There you go, another one. We fight like Hale too. But what they want to do is make it where it doesn't financially make sense to take those sort of cases. And that's what they're trying to get past here. And obviously, it's just something people should be aware of and write your legislation.
Do you think those laws help or hurt the victims?
Oh, well, I think when it's hard to find an attorney, when Uber or Lyft are pushing all these bills where attorneys can only get 20%, the best attorneys aren't going to be the ones taking those cases. It's not necessarily going to financially make sense. And that's what they know. And they guise it under the argument that, this helps the victim because they get more money because the attorneys get a smaller percent. It's like, no, you don't want them to get...
If they can find an attorney, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, if they can find an attorney, well, you know what? How about you just pay them more money so they never have to hire an attorney? We wouldn't exist if the insurance companies and these corporations weren't fighting regular people who got injured at every single turn. That's why we exist.
Right. Yeah.
Even the playing field. And
well said. And you signed up for a ride across town and got in an accident and you can't go back to work and there's lost wages and there's other things.
Or better yet, you're sitting at a red light and somebody else hired a ride across town and rammed into your butt.
There you go.
Yeah.
We can probably talk all day about, what's right and what's wrong when it comes to that. Obviously the judicial system's what ultimately decides that, but the bottom line is there was a loss, whatever amount that was, you're due something, but you need help to get that something. You're not going to do it yourself. None of us are going to go up against any of those corporations and fight our own case. And so we need to be able to find an attorney. Well, the attorney's got to get paid too, which is going to increase that fee a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about, like the passion for what you do and where that comes from and maybe specific, like a case without, naming names or anything like that, a case where it was like, this is one that like, I'm going to go to bat for, and also I'm sure you get calls that are, I get it. You're owed a little bit of money, but it's probably not for us. I'm sure you turn some stuff away, but there's had to have been some cases where you're like, man, this person was put in a bad spot and somebody should pay for it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I was getting mad in first grade, when other kids were getting picked on, and I never liked that. I always got that passion in me, that fire, that if I see someone getting messed around with, I don't like that, So that's always just been a constant for me my entire life. I've just never liked people getting messed around with. So this was a natural fit for me. When it comes to cases, I can tell you, Hale and I, we just tried a case in the courtroom about 2 months ago now.
Yeah, right around there.
And it was a case that I was even hesitating taking because he wasn't put at fault. Actually, the other driver was, but the insurance companies wouldn't take responsibility. They were blaming him. The story didn't really make sense because no one really drives like this. They're going down a one-lane highway or a road here, and she's on the right side of him. He's on the far left lane, and she makes a left turn in front of him to go down a side street, and he hits her. Well, I mean, it's so bizarre. Like,
right.
Why would you make a left turn in front of someone? You could see their car clearly. And, I kind of hesitated. Like, is this what it happened? Or was she really in front of him and made that left turn? But when I did the math and, listened to our client's story, I mean, it just made sense. And so we went ahead and filed suit. Insurance company wouldn't pony up the money, and Hale jumped on the case and we took it to bat, took it all the way to trial. There wasn't much money in terms of insurance limits. I don't really believe that most personal injury attorneys would take that to trial, but
Yeah.
I really felt like this kid deserved money.
Yeah.
So we took it to trial and won.
Jury said 100% other person's fault.
Yeah.
So it was, sometimes you get those cases where you're just not 100% sure at first when you take them. There's different things we can do. We can get video cameras from the roads. We can get black box. This is cool. People don't know this. Like every single vehicle, have a black box in an airplane. They got black boxes, event data recorders in vehicles.
Right.
Record back 5 seconds. Right before a crash, if it triggers. I won't get into all the science stuff, but pretty much it'll tell you whether someone's wearing a seatbelt, whether their steering wheel is turned, whether they're hitting the gas, what percent they're hitting the gas, the brake, turn all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of things, but sometimes some making models like that one, they didn't have a event data recorder. So you really just have to look and listen to the stories and see which one makes sense, because ultimately, whenever you're talking to a jury, you're talking to regular people, and if it doesn't make sense to you, it's not going to make sense to them. So you got to make sure it makes sense to you. And when it comes to clients that I care a little bit more about, as a father, sometimes when I hear the stories of people with their kids, they can't do the same things. My dad was in an auto accident when I was younger. He ended up being fine pretty much. Still have to get injections or like throw out his back randomly when we're playing ping pong. But he never really picked me up again.
Ping pong's an aggressive sport.
Ping pong, exactly. Because these are permanent injuries.
Right.
And when you look at people, they look perfectly fine when you see them, and you would think, oh, they don't look hurt. That's one of the things we're up against, and that's what the insurance companies are always saying. They try and make it look like, well, look at them. Well, you know what? Sometimes these injuries aren't so apparent, and that's when we have to get creative and show and explain to the jury, because it really affects people's lives and ultimately relationships.
Yeah.
So that's one of my passions.
So we've touched on the car accidents. Do you do any other types of personal injury besides car accidents?
Definitely. So we've had a lot of interesting cases. Hale's in the newspaper in the Orlando area for a lawsuit we filed against a hospital. Do you want to talk about that?
It's still pending, but it's all basic. It's in the complaint. It's all public record. Just to be very general, there's some nurses getting some training, and during the training there was an active shooter drill. They weren't told it was a drill. They were actually told it wasn't a drill, and it messed them up, mentally. So don't want to get more specific than that. That's all public record that happened.
There wasn't physical damage necessarily. It was more.
Not any sort of significant. Yeah, mostly it's all just mental. But there's certain things like that where it's like hard to quantify.
Yeah.
How much has it affected them? Obviously, we get our experts. We get the doctors and everything testify how it affected them. But some cases aren't so clear, and that's one of those ones where you just you go with it. You believe in what your clients say. You think about how you'd feel if you were them. You think about how's the jury going to feel about this, and it's one of the ones we're fired up about.
Yeah.
What percentage of these types of personal injury cases actually go to trial? Because the impression you get from some of the ads is that a lot of these things are settled, and I know there's good aspects of them being settled, and there's also some not so good aspects. You want to talk about that a bit?
Hey, we're having a blast. You're going to know Patrick and Patrick from Hale Law. If you want to get to know them a little bit deeper, stay tuned for rapid fire questions fueled by food and beer.
Hi, my name's Patrick Hale.
And I'm Patrick Iyampillai.
We're the partners of Hale Law. Were we supposed to both say that together?
Yeah, maybe. And this is Rapid Fire.
Rapid Fire.
10 random questions, 10 specific answers, nothing off limits. This is Rapid Fire, fueled by food and beer. Besides super chunk fudgy peanut butter ice cream, what's your favorite flavor?
Cookie dough.
No ice cream. I don't like ice cream that much.
We all love grape nuts as a kid. What's your favorite cereal?
Fruity Pebbles. I love it.
Barney, my pebbles! Didn't mean to bowl you over, Fred. How's Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles cereal?
Fruit Loops.
College football or NFL?
College football, absolutely.
Football.
Who's your favorite team?
UCF.
Florida State, go Noles.
Charge on.
Have you even tried crab rangoon mozzarella sticks from Food and Beer?
I have not, but I need to.
Yeah. Sound pretty good to me. I like both those things.
Nintendo Switch Xbox, Sony PlayStation, or do you kick it old school with Atari?
Xbox.
PlayStation 5 now.
Who was a better Spider-Man? Toby, Andrew, Tom?
Toby, OG all the way.
I don't watch movies.
Terrific. Thanks for your time.
Would you rather have a third eye or third ear?
Third ear. I'm a big music guy, so if I can listen better, I'm all for it.
Depending on where the eye was, I'd probably go with an eye.
How do you like your steak cooked? Well done, medium rare, bloody, or still mooing?
Still mooing.
I like medium rare.
Would you rather always have to whisper or always have to shout?
Shout.
Shout.
Which was the better series, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
Say my name.
It's so hard, but Breaking Bad.
You're damn right.
Oh, Better Call Saul by far.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do.
By the way, that guy would be disbarred every single episode. Like, yeah. He's out of control, but it's fun to watch.
And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque.
Better call Saul.
So I tell clients, we're looking at about 3/4 of all of our cases settling without a lawsuit. And why? You have low insurance limits, or you have clients just getting better, which is great. You can't beat that, right? No amount of money is worth your body, right? So people just get better over time. So maybe it's not worthwhile to them. Maybe we would just be the only ones making money and tell them, hey, let's settle, But we're definitely filing a lot of lawsuits. Like I said, Patrick and I just went to trial. How many get to trial is not very many, and I'd say that's for a lot of firms. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but the reason why is we prepare, we exchange our witness lists, we got people under subpoena, and we'll get to the courthouse doors figuratively, and the insurance company's just calling and saying, hey, all right, we'll pay you whatever you want, or we'll pay you what you were asking
Now,
for.
is there any merit to the fact that you guys are willing to go to trial, that they know that you have a track record, that these guys are willing to go to trial, we want to settle sooner rather than later?
I don't have any concrete evidence, but I've been told by people in the industry that they do keep track of these things. I mean, it's public record who's, going to trial, when you get that verdict in court, it's all public record, so they know how many people have gone to verdict. So they do keep track of it, I've been told.
Yes.
I mean, the insurance companies are methodical about everything. That's their whole business, right?
Yeah.
Risk
You know what I mean?
management.
It's risk management. So,
And everyone, even we use numbers to help make decisions. So,
I would hope
if
so.
we are being,
I would hope so.
yeah, being,
You're in business, so.
30, a little over 30 people, employees and everything. If we're using numbers, the insurance companies are definitely using numbers and making decisions. And I think that one, pretty
Speaks
pretty
for
clear,
itself.
yeah.
For sure.
plus their lawyers talk. They know when they're up against a firm that's lazy, and they're not going to want to do all that work that's required to take it to trial. And they know when they're dealing with somebody who will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that changes the tenor of a discussion.
Yeah, and it actually reminds me of a case Patrick settled for a pretty decent amount, north of $1 million. Another law firm had it. I'm not going to say who. I like the people there, but they filed it during tort reform, didn't move it, and it was just sitting there. 6-7 months later, they call us up. Patrick takes a call, talking to the person, and ends up settling it, within 6-7 months, just because he started moving it along in litigation, because he was taking the steps. It sat there for months, and as soon as he got it, a couple depots, mediation, and then got it settled for what it needed to be settled for, when it was just sitting there for months.
Well,
before.
sometimes these cases aren't going to settle themselves. You might actually have to do some work, right?
Yeah.
You
God forbid.
gotta give them Hale.
Yeah, they say if you prepare like you're going to trial, you might not have to. So obviously, if we have to, we have to. But
Yeah.
they know the other side. They can see the people who are setting it up to go to trial and the people who aren't. And if it does end up going, well, you're prepared. So who cares? Like, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you can't negotiate against somebody that has all of their facts lined up, right? It's all right. You got us. What's it going to cost, right? Let's just get this over with and let's move forth. So preparing for trial obviously makes sense, but knowing that most of them don't go to trial, how many other personal injury, and you don't have to name any names. We're not naming names, but is it common practice for? Because I'm not privy to this. I wouldn't know. Is it common practice for personal injury attorneys to just try to settle as kind of their lead? Hey, let's settle this. Here's what we want. And then they get caught with their pants down, going to trial and lose.
It makes me nervous whenever I see a law firm that says they do personal injury, but they do a lot of other things. There's a lot of different laws that you need to know and systems and processes, to set that case up so strongly that there is no other option but to pay top dollar, when instead others are looking at it like this is a business opportunity. I don't have to work out a ton of deals between two folks that are getting a divorce, like my family law cases or the prosecutors like my criminal cases. Let me just get this personal injury case. I'm just going to make some money here, not doing much. Like, no, you need to know all of the different things that there is to do to set that case up well. And then you got to actually file the lawsuit if that is required, and you got to be ready to take it all the way. You got to prepare like it's going all the way in order to get those touchdowns for clients.
And that actually makes me think of a funny joke I heard. It's like,
perfect.
You know the best way to get $1 million for a case, or the easiest way to get $1 million for a case. Mess up a $3 million case. So that's sort of what Patrick's saying, really, and what he just said. It's like there's attorneys who can take it. They'll get some money, and they know they're getting some money. But are they getting maximum case value? That's really the question. And that only comes when you work the case up the right way and, dot every I, cross every T. It's a lot of labor, a lot of work, but, hey, it's worth it.
So you guys said that there's nothing really off limits, and I respect that, right? Obviously, names and personal information and proprietary practices that you guys utilize, all that stuff is off limits. But let's talk about the flip side, right? Let's get a little bit controversial here, because the reality is somebody slips and falls in my kitchen out there, one of my agents or something, and gets workman's comp and doesn't feel like and I think we have the agreements in place that we don't have to worry about this, hopefully. But let's just say,
aren't you in the insurance business?
We are, but let's just say not to say that we're bulletproof by any means. So let's say somebody does slip and fall, and they're coming after me, and they're coming after me for $1 million because they broke their wrist, right, or whatever. Hopefully that's a case that you guys turn away, not just because it's me, but just because. So how often do you guys deal with people that may be looking for a lot more than what they deserve, and how do you talk them off the ledge, or do you just refer that case somewhere else to your competitor, or
Is
like
it
how do you
frivolous
deal with it?
lawsuit?
Because
Is that what we're looking for?
That would be my difficulty in your seat. Is sure there's some victims that deserve some things, right? Some monetary compensation, but there's also some that hey, I slipped and fell in Walmart, right? And it's Walmart, and they got a lot of money, and I just want to get some of that money. But somebody behind the scenes a long time ago worked hard to build the Walmart to what it was, and it didn't happen overnight. And Sam. Yeah. So, but it wasn't just Sam. It was many people, and I look at that as taking something that's not yours, right? Like this is sure you slipped and fell and you broke your wrist, but now you're claiming mental. So like. You got to be able to put it in a
wrist.
You
Is
have
your
to be
left
able
or
to
right, or you dominant hand? I don't know.
Are you a ping pong player? I mean,
So
What's your job? You're a professional ping pong player. That means worth a lot more.
So how do you
Worth
deal
more
with
than
that
mine.
though? This is a person that maybe is collecting unemployment or whatever, right? Like let's just paint the worst case scenario. You've dealt with it, I'm sure. How do you deal with that? Turning them away or talking them down. Hey, you're not going to get $1 million. You deserve 10,000. We're happy to go after that for you.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of issues that you brought up. I mean, I counted at least like 5 or whatever. But so we can address a couple of them. So, because I'm thinking about it exactly what you're saying, because these are things that I think about all the time. I know Patrick thinks about, everyone at our firm. So the majority of people, and I get to hear everything, right?
Yeah.
Strong majority. These are people who are hurt. It's not their fault. We don't take cases where, and first off, we're not taking those workers' comp. We can refer them out to someone.
Of course.
But not the workers' comp right now. But these people are hurt, and if it's someone else's fault, they need to pay. Now, when we find people, and I've had them, where I'm listening to them, and I'm just like, I don't believe these people. And I've had that happen. I drop them as a client.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Because we're not going to, look, we have so many cases, so many people who are hurt and really affected, and it's someone else's fault. There's no time to waste time on some people, someone who's going to be frivolous.
Well, it's not only a morality thing, too. It's a business decision. If you don't believe them, Hale, no one else is going to believe them. The jury won't believe them. The judge won't believe them. And you're going to spin your wheels, right?
It's business decision and it's a moral decision.
Yeah.
Like, if we take a case and when we take it, we want to follow, do the follow through. If we take it, it's because we believe in it, we believe in the client, and we want to make sure they get money for their injuries, because we can't make them feel better, but hey, we can get them money.
And the stronger your market is, the more people you have through that door, you can be more selective with the cases you take as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a good.
It's happened more over the years.
Yeah.
Talk about it all the time.
This is a great time, though, to talk about the kinds of damages that you can actually get money for in this personal injury context, because I think the general public, they don't understand that. They think, I slept at Walmart, I should get $1 million for my wrist. Well, the amount of money you get is actually based on the kinds of damages, right? And I'm not the expert. You guys want to go into those?
Absolutely. So, you have the obvious, right? Broken bones, that's a permanent injury, right? You have a surgery, it's a permanent alteration, you get money.
So the
for
actual
that.
costs would be the one category of damages, right?
Absolutely. Medical bills,
Mm-hmm.
you also have pain and suffering. And that's for both of those, it's the past and then it's also the future in most circumstances. There's some nuances with the law, but you're going to have a debilitating, injury in the future, even if you feel good after a surgery now, because the body's only getting older, we're all deteriorating. So you're going to need future medical bills. You also have the right to, not just pain and suffering, but mental anguish, which is different because you have the actual pain that's sending those signals to your brain. Oh, this sucks. This is painful, right? But then you have the mental anguish of, wow, I'm having to now sit at home because I can't move from my chair after this surgery for hours and hours and hours on end. I have this depression now, this anxiety now. So you can get compensation for all of that and more. Scarring, disfigurement, really a lot of different things, but you also have to prove that. And I think the public needs to understand that about personal injury attorneys. It's hard to fake a case. It's hard to be frivolous. There's a lot of practices within the law to where a judge can just throw out a case without it even getting to a jury, and they can do it, relatively quickly in the process.
Versus other types of cases.
Yes.
What are some instances where the judge would throw the case out?
So in Florida, we have a great law for property owners and businesses. So if you have someone who's claiming to do slip and fall in your store, okay, they have to prove not only what they slipped on, right, that there was what's called a dangerous and hazardous condition.
So they're not just a klutz.
Yeah. They have to prove that something was there and that the business owner knew about it and had enough time to do something about it. It can't be a minute, can't be even 5 minutes in a lot of circumstances. So we're kind of blessed in Florida in that respect for business owners to, have the opportunity to help people. And when accidents happen that are just, completely unavoidable, the business owner isn't going to get hurt for that. So
then even despite the medical, there's punitive damages, right? If the judge wants to send a message that, hey, we need to discourage this kind of behavior in the future, so there's going to be an additional penalty on top of, the actual bills. And
how often do you guys get punitive damages?
They are rare.
Yeah,
it has to be something that shocks the conscience, right? So it has to be something. it has to be something like you can get punitives for DUI, right? If a drunk driver hits you, you can get punitives. I mean, that shocks the conscience. You know, you got this drunk person, you know, getting wasted out here driving,
They're
hits
breaking
you on
the
the
law.
road, or something crazy like a corporation does. You know, they completely disregard, you know, everything.
Or there's emails that they found that
Or
proved they
emails.
knew about the thing that wasn't
Trying to
safe.
bury
That
it.
caused the
Yeah, there you
accident.
go.
It's
You
like,
see
all
it-
right, you know.
Yeah, you see it
Yeah.
in medical, you know, pharmaceutical type drug cases, you know, things like that. They're trying to hide it, just like you said. So if it's something that shocks the conscience, you know, there's other things, but they're difficult to get. You have to file with the court to get it approved. So it happens. You just have to have the right circumstances, or I guess another way to look at it, the wrong circumstances, however you want to look at
Right.
it. But, you know, they exist.
I just think there's so much misconception in terms of the public of how easy it is to get money from these accidents.
Oh yeah,
Like,
You
it's
think
not-
these
it's not as
insurance
easy as everybody
companies
thinks.
Just
Yeah.
give up money. No, you have to have a legit claim. They're hiring private investigators. I used to be a private investigator for the insurance companies. My parents,
Oh,
when I
boy,
was
that
growing
gives
up,
you a little competitive advantage.
Process serving and private investigation company. And so from the time I was like 5, I was going along with my dad while he was, you know, he owned his own business. So I was going along with him and go on investigations if he didn't think they were going to be dangerous. At 18, I had my investigation license. I caught people who were faking. You know what happened in those cases? I know now what happened in those cases. Those cases got dismissed.
Right.
And, you know, for fraud. You know,
And there's
Our
recourse.
clients
There's
don't do
recourse
that.
there too. If
Give us some instances of a faker you caught.
yeah, I caught some fakers.
Give me a
I
good
got
one.
one faker. Right, there's one in particular. There's some pretty good stories, but there was a guy, and it was a work comp claim against a large employer in Orlando. That's where I grew up, and so the guy's like, you know, apparently couldn't do anything, was restricted to 5 pounds, couldn't work, couldn't do anything, and then
He was on Muscle Beach.
yeah. So I sit outside his house, and they're like, "Yeah, just watch him." I'm like, "Okay." I knew it was a work comp claim. I didn't know anything else. They didn't tell me a lot. And all of a sudden, I see this guy. He walks outside, and it looks like him. I'm looking. You know, they give me his ID. I'm like, "Yeah, that's him." Throws open the garage. I'm like, "Oh man, I can't believe it. I just got this guy throwing open the garage." And I was like, "Got him." And then, I'm like, now he's
got a
rolling
gym.
out.
He's got a gym in there.
He's got a motorcycle. Jim wouldn't have been as cool as this. He gets a motorcycle out and he rolls it out, right? And then I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh, he's probably gonna wash it or something. All of a sudden, doesn't put on a helmet, nothing. He goes right out of his driveway, pops a wheelie, somehow turns out of his driveway, goes a wheelie the whole way down. And I was like, I call my dad, because I was 18, you know, I had my license, but I wasn't.
Got him.
He's like, what? I'm like, what do you think? He's like, that's great. And so, guy took off at like over 100 miles an hour. I couldn't follow him because I wasn't going to do that. So, you know, some of my experience helped me. We realize, when you hear all these attorneys are doing all these fake, you know, personal injury attorneys taking these, you know, fake claims and everything, that's not happening.
Right.
And if it goes all the way where they're paying money, that means the insurance company knows.
Who do you think is propagating all these like false narratives?
I wonder who you follow the money, right? who do you think's making the money off these narratives? Could it be the large insurance companies? Look, they know they're gonna say everything they can. When they raise your rates, you know, who do they want to blame? Do they want to say, hey, actually we're making record profits and send it out to other states, which there's a House investigation right now. The Speaker of the House in the state of Florida has an investigation in some of these insurance companies saying that they had losses after Hurricane Ann. Then they raised our rates. Car insurance rates went up by 30 to 40% after Hurricane Ann because of the hurricane.
Right.
So, you know, you don't even own a home and now all of a sudden your car insurance rates are going up. So what's easier to blame it on? Oh, evil personal injury attorneys? Is that easier? Or is it, oh, actually, we just want to make more money, pretend like we're losing money so we can get better laws for ourselves, and then ship all the money out of state and then lie to the state government, whether they did or did not? I don't know. They're doing an investigation into it. I don't want to. I'll get sued. We're going to find out. But hey, it's in the
Both sound good to
newspaper.
me.
It's in the newspaper.
I'm glad you went there because oftentimes that's the criticism of the other side of personal injury law is, okay, you guys are getting all these great settlements for the clients, but at whose expense, right? You know, and the insurance company narrative is probably it's at the expense of, you know, idiots
They
like
argue
me
the tragedy of
who pay car
commons,
insurance,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, One thing that I want to say is that, sure, personal injury can have a negative connotation, but the moment somebody's actually hurt and in need, I'm sure that they look at it differently.
Unless it's their wrist. Their wrist does not matter.
Yeah, correct. But I wanted to paint that picture because it's important to see that, hey, listen, we're not just taking every case. We're not just interested in hammering these insurance companies, because it will come full circle, and then your insurance rates. I mean, everything is connected in some way or shape. So you guys seem like great guys. You guys seem like, you're passionate about what you do. And it's not every day that we get a personal injury attorney on here and talk about kind of both sides. We talked about it from your perspective. We talked about it even from a little bit of the insurance company's perspective, like what about these ambulance chaser type of, people? And then we even talked about it from the claimant's perspective and what they're feeling. So, I think we pretty well covered all of personal injury. Let's talk a little Sarasota, shall we?
Yeah. Sounds
Sarasota SpeaX podcast, right? Let's lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's like not thinking about work.
You guys are getting passionate. You guys are getting passionate. So I love it. But from one attorney to another, Trey's got a question for you. And Trey's not the attorney, by the way.
Well, I got a story about that too.
I did go to Stetson, but that's not the segment right now. Wait a second. Tom and Hale Law and Trey Martell want to know, what are your thoughts on roundabouts? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you get any business from roundabouts?
It's going to be interesting perspective here.
I mean, we've definitely had roundabout cases, right?
Roundabout in what way? Like they're from a roundabout, or they're roundabout, like they never end?
Probably these ones over here on your video screen. This pretty. Yeah. Were you guys doing this the whole entire podcast?
No, it just flashed on. But
okay.
Stop. It's going to distract you. It's going to distract you.
If you look at it, you will never look away, so be careful.
Yeah,
over here, Patrick. Hey, P squared. We're over here.
Yeah, we're over here. We're distracted.
So the evidence, the statistics, they all point to them being safer, right? You don't have those head-on collisions. It's just
low
kind
speed
of impossible.
impact, low fender benders.
Right. So, for people's sake, for the most part, I would say it's for the better. But
for the people?
For the people. I don't know if I could say that right. But
hell no.
I had to say that.
But I think they are leading to a lot of accidents still, which is a lot of people's time, effort, and money, and still human damages. Still, you can permanently injure the body at a 5 mile an hour or less accident. It truly is possible. And we're just getting more and more of them in Sarasota. I just don't know if it's the best idea.
Okay.
Every possible intersection.
Hale?
What
do you say, Hale? You love them? You hate them?
I personally, that one right over there, you just drive straight down Fruitville, and that really big one over there by
with the traffic light.
Yeah, with the traffic light,
well,
which
the
apparently I've heard. I think it's just for pedestrians.
Yay!
That
is what it is.
I
confused the shit out of me though.
I thought it was so. My wife,
he looked it up online.
Her family's from Scotland, and so they have big roundabouts there. But everyone over there knows how to use them. I don't know what we do, PSAs or whatever, to get people to learn how to use these
podcast
things.
Is fixing it.
Yeah, here we go. This is a PSA.
Here we go.
Just jump in when you can, and unless there's a light telling you, you're not allowed to. But ultimately, they are safer. It prevents, just like Patrick said, prevents T-bone collisions, which really hurt people. I don't personally like them because people are always crashing, don't know how to get through them. But overall, I still think they're the right move in a lot of spots, just simply because it prevents the really bad crashes.
Agreed.
Like the worst crashes. I think they make sense.
Agreed. So kind of both for a little bit.
Yeah.
Except
for the big intersections, big speeds. Smaller ones.
Just the amount of them may be too many.
Yeah, and why do they put art in the middle of them? Like,
let me tell you. Hey, wait. Hold it. Let me tell you. So one thing you should know about us is 103 episodes into this, we've been talking about roundabouts since the very first one. We've had every city official and the chief of police and a lot of people that know a lot about roundabouts. And one thing I could tell you is the artwork is saving people from accidents, which may be a good reason for you guys to get them out of the middle of the roundabout. But it's to prevent you from looking across the roundabout and seeing people entering and preventing you from wanting to go in, right? If it blocks...
It's a visual blocker.
If it blocks the traffic coming in from this way, you'll enter as you are supposed
They're
to.
worried about people anticipating too much the traffic that's coming instead of just
And
looking
stopping
at the immediate
instead of
traffic
yielding.
Right.
and
Yeah,
keep moving.
you know, as long as they have studies that show that, you know, we've used experts who worked for Florida Department of Transportation previously, and you know, we use them in cases in crash reconstruction as crash reconstruction experts. So as long as there's a study and it really makes sense, then I'm fine. I always
We
thought that
can't
was sort of
guarantee
weird.
there's a study, but that's what we were told.
Someone
on
told
the
us
podcast.
once.
Nobody,
I'm gonna ask an expert.
Nobody
I know.
lies.
Trust me, bro.
nobody
Therefore, I'll
lies.
repeat it.
Nobody lies on this podcast. This is nothing but the truth.
We also don't fact check, so take that.
I'm
with
gonna
a grain of
fact check and let you guys know.
Please do.
Well, hey, listen,
Sounds
guys.
right.
This has been a great podcast. I just checked the time here, and thanks to Sarasota Watch Co., I realized that it's time for the final question. Are you guys ready for the final question? It's a big
Ready as
deal.
hell?
I'll pass. Ready as
So-
hell. I'll pass it to Felipe.
You've been on Sarasota SpeaX. You see what we do here. Thanks for coming. It was great. Who do you know who we may not know who Sarasota needs to know? Who can you recommend we invite on Sarasota SpeaX?
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of thoughts.
there's a lot of different people.
We need names.
Yeah, I'd say Bill Sturbensky, address. No, I'm joking. His name's Bill Sturbensky. He's an
Sturbensky,
attorney,
okay.
an attorney
Okay.
here. He's one of the founders of SRQ.
We've
Vets.
had him on.
You had him on?
Next, yeah, we had one.
Next. Some of the other people, I'm
Sturbensky.
sorry, I haven't watched every
He's great.
or listened to every episode. I listened to a couple.
You missed that episode?
Was he on it for real?
Yeah, he really
I was
was.
waiting for somebody
He
to
didn't
say
tell
it.
me that. I noticed you guys always ask that, so I'm like, hey, I'm going to mention you. You know what? He's just like, oh yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, I'd like to come back
He
on.
did not tell me. He set me up.
He was on.
He set me
Yeah,
up.
I
He's
know.
like,
I know Billy.
Oh,
he
wow,
set me
Bill.
up.
All right. Well, it's on you,
calling you
Pat.
out, Bill.
It's on you, Patrick.
I am a big fan and supporter of Teen Court of Sarasota.
Okay.
Ooh, good one.
I went there
And
once.
The executive director. Really?
Yeah.
That's
As a
awesome.
teen in trouble. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was
As
great.
a bad boy.
Wow. I've
That's why
been
I'm
Reaching
here.
out.
That's why I'm here today.
amazing. I've been a volunteer judge for 3 years. So
I met this hot chick. It was great. So fun.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
I
I met
recommend
my
it.
wife there. She worked there.
I met my wife.
She
Oh,
worked
yeah.
there. I always have to clarify that. Okay.
Yeah.
But the executive director, Heather Todd, she's
Yep.
amazing. She
I
can
think she's been
absolutely tell
recommended
you,
before.
You don't know my dad from there? I think he's
about
on
the
that board.
organization.
Yeah. And do you know Jack Meredith also? He's on that board.
Yeah, I believe so.
There you go. Yeah, big believer in Teen Court.
All right, Heather Todd.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Heather
do it.
Todd.
Amazing.
Good recommendation.
All right, coming back to you, Hale. You got a backup.
You
Oh,
gotta
I thought I was
give us
just
No,
dude, with
you're
your
not
partner.
a
They go and they answer something. It's like, all right, that's my answer too.
All right, fine. That could be your answer. But listen, guys, it's been fun. You guys aren't regular attorneys. You're not even regular personal injury attorneys. You seem like great guys. So appreciate you coming on. We got that vibe actually from the moment we met you. So I say that sincerely, and keep doing the right thing out there, and let's change the landscape of personal injury. All right.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Those slogans are endless.
Thank you.